So remember when you were in your 20s and you thought you had your life entirely figured out? Yeah, me neither. But I do remember when I was in my 20s, I thought, okay, by the time I reach 30, I am truly gonna be an adult. I will have my life figured out. My whole life will be put together by then. And surprise, that's not the case. So today I wanted to create a video that talks about the differences between your 20s and your 30s when it comes to adulting. And the spoiler alert is that it's not just about having back pain or knee pain or wanting to have an updated skincare routine. There's a lot more that goes into it. But before going into the video, if you are in your 20s or your 30s, I'd love to hear from you what's been your biggest shock or epiphany or realization when it comes to adulting. So comment below, and with that, let's get into it. Okay, so let's talk about the first difference between your 20s and your 30s when it comes to adulting. Point number one is the evolving aspect of your friendships and social life. So when I was in my 20s, I feel like it was all about going out, meeting new people, being at parties, having really large groups, come to events, dinners. It was always about quantity, quantity, quantity. And also it was all about just like doing everything and having a jam-packed weekend schedule. I feel like I would have, something on Friday night and like from 6 to 8, and then something from like 8 to 10, and something from like 11 till 1, and then the weekend it was just jam-packed every day. No more. In your 30s, it's more about pacing yourself, focusing on quality versus quantity. Not to say that the friendships in your 20s are not strong, because some of my best friends are from me going through my 20s, but you focus on a much smaller group of friends who you have potentially deeper connections with, and it's way less about having this jam-packed weekend. I think if anything, you kind of want to have a balance of your weekend of being with friends and others while also having time for yourself to relax and unwind. And so I feel like that was the biggest change, is going from that go, go, go mentality in a lot of big groups to more of a slower vibe, maybe even a little bit of more focus on myself rather than everyone else, and also just wanting your peace. The second difference is focused on your career and purpose. So when I was in my 20s, I was so excited to have a job. I was like, this is the moment where I actually have money that I am making on my own and I can do whatever I want, because I do feel like your early 20s are this amazing time of true independence where, yes, you were semi-independent in college, but at the same time, you're still on your parents' bankroll, and so you're not really living life on your own terms. But my 20s, I was so excited to have a job, and I really was just focused on having a job and wasn't thinking too critically about, what kind of career do I want? Where do I see myself in 10 years? I was just like, I'm happy to have a job. I'm happy to have money. Let's just be social. Like, that was all I cared about. Whereas now in my 30s, I'm a lot more focused on the long-term vision and a lot more focused on connecting my job to my passions, interests, and purpose, and even spending a lot of time trying to figure out, what is my purpose and how do I see that playing a part in my life, whether it is connected to my career or it's not. And I think purpose is a really big, ambiguous question, but it's something I'm really passionate about and interested in. So I would say one of the other biggest shifts is going from just being grateful to have a job, being excited to be in a job, and not really thinking too critically about it, and not in a bad way, just because there was a lot of other things that were a higher priority at the time in my 20s, to now being in my 30s and really caring about, okay, what does my dream career look like and how can I start building towards that dream? The third difference between your 20s and your 30s is health and self-care. So in my 20s, I was all about junk food. I mean, I still am about junk food, but all about junk food, late nights, going out, going to bars. It was just, like I said in the first point, I think, go, 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 go. And health wasn't necessarily a priority. I think the only element of health that maybe was a priority was just being active, and that's been a theme throughout my life. But I wasn't really thinking about nutrients or vitamins or my skin as much. And now, skincare, okay, I call it the 3 S's. Skincare, sleep, and self-care. Those are the 3 things I really care about, and you really start to care about in your 30s is, okay, now that aging is more front and center, or like the idea of aging comes up more often than maybe in your 20s, you're like, okay, how can I age gracefully? How can I be healthy, not only internally, so like what am I putting into my body, but also externally, so how am I protecting my skin, how am I protecting my body in terms of like, you know, coverage, like hats, things to wear. So it's a lot more front and center. And also, generally, because of aging and just life, things start to pop up. Like I now have knee pains, and if I like run too often on asphalt, my knees really hurt. So I would say your body itself starts to experience a lot of changes. And so it's really important to prioritize self-care and taking care of your body and thinking about, okay, how can I prevent some of these things that tend to happen to a lot of people in their 30s or their 40s. And then the last difference is related to relationships and changes when it comes to what you look for in a relationship. And when I'm talking about relationships, in this case, I'm referring to romantic relationships. And I feel like in my 20s, you know, myself, but maybe others, you're just so excited by dating, and it's really fun to date different kinds of people. And I think that's really a good time for exploration to figure out, okay, who am I potentially compatible with? But when I was in my 20s, I was really looking for chemistry. I was looking for sparks. I really wanted that fire, that passion. And I would say now in my 30s, I've moved from fire and passion and butterflies. I feel like everyone's always like, I want butterflies in my stomach. Butterflies to now 30s, I want a warm blanket. You want someone who gets you. You want someone you feel completely yourself with. You want someone who feels comfortable. You want someone who, my friends and I call it expansive energy. So when you leave an interaction with them, you feel more expansive versus feeling, you know, more retracted if it's someone who maybe like takes away from you or takes away your lightness or your brightness. And so I would say that's been a big difference for me, is that my dating priorities have totally shifted in terms of who I'm looking for and the kind of partner that I want to end up with. And so I know that was a shorter video, but I would love to hear from you. What stage are you in your adulting journey? What has been some of the biggest lessons for you? What do you think has been some of the biggest changes, whether it's in your 20s, 30s? I would love to hear if people are in their 40s, 50s as well. I'm really open to hearing folks' experiences. I'm actually so interested to hear what you think. So please comment below. And I just want to say before ending that adulting is, I believe, a lifelong journey, and there's no manual for this. There's no perfect how-to guide. So I think all of us, no matter what age we're at, are all figuring it out. So hope that helps and you feel good about if, you know, you're at a place in your life where you feel like maybe you should be more adult, whatever that means, but you don't really feel that way at all. I'm the same. I think a lot of people are the same. You're not alone. So thank you for listening. Hope this was helpful. If it was, please comment, like, subscribe, do all the lovely things. I am trying to grow this small YouTube channel. Thank you. Bye.